Weight loss drugs are everywhere right now, and they may seem pricey and out of reach. Until now, Hims is changing the game and offers weight loss drugs with the same active ingredients as Ozempic and Wegovy, except they're accessible and affordable. At hims.com/touchdown, you can get treatment prescribed 100% online. The platform can determine if a weight loss plan is right for you, and if prescribed, your personalized plan ships free directly to your door, all for as little as $69 a month, with a 10-month plan for oral medications, or $165 per month with a 12-month compounded GLP-1 plan paid up front. No hidden fees, no access fees, and no membership fees. Get started at hims.com/touchdown. That's hims.com/touchdown. Welcome to the program, everybody. I am Ricky Cobb, and this is The Ricky Cobb Show. You sweet bastards, we're coming to you live from New Orleans Super Bowl week. We got a good one for you today. Rod Woodson will join me, the Hall of Famer. Trey Wingo will join me later, and Paige Spiranac may be of interest to some of you as well. But let's get started with Donald Trump making news. And does he do anything else except make news? He's going to be the first sitting president to ever attend the Super Bowl. That's right, number 45/number 47 is coming to town, and he will be in the house at the Superdome on Sunday. So pretty cool. Travis Kelce was asked about it. Travis Kelce, whose girlfriend isn't a Trump fan necessarily, we know that, but Travis Kelce had some words about it, and he's on board. Let's take a listen.
It's a great honor. I think, no matter who the president is, I know I'm excited because it's the biggest game of my life, and having the president there, it's the best country in the world, so it'd be very cool.
So there you are, the consensus still continuing to build around Donald Trump. His popularity's never been higher, and even those that you might not expect to be in the Trump camp seem to be getting on board, at least to some degree, but not everybody. You can count on some folks to be stubborn, and Keith Olbermann is in that category, and I don't even know about Keith Olbermann anymore. Let's take a look at Keith Olbermann tweeting about the NFL's decision to drop the end racism message from the back of the end zone for the Super Bowl. We have seen that now for a long time, and the NFL opting to pivot away from end racism at the Super Bowl. It's going to be choose love, and it takes all of us. And choosing love, and I think those were a couple of tracks from an Earth, Wind, and Fire album years ago, unless I'm mistaken. But Keith Olbermann saying that, guess what? If you're against stop racism, that means that you're a racist, and fuck you. Does that mean that if I see Keith Olbermann out on the street and he's not wearing a sweatshirt that says end racism, does that mean that I'm to assume that he's a racist? I think Keith has lost his fucking mind, is what I think has happened. The NBA, I don't see it on the NBA courts. I don't see it in NHL rinks. I don't see it on Major League Baseball fields. That doesn't mean that you're not against racism. And I think that the large majority of us in this country understand that. Of course, racism exists. Of course, it's terrible. Of course, we would all love to see it end. But Keith Olbermann, nope. He was going to have to stay on the field forever until every single person. And, the thing of it is, it's not a bad message. But let's be honest, there's some virtue signaling going on here. I don't think anybody, as Ronnie T-shirts has said before, I don't think anybody has looked at a message on a field and thought, oh, okay, I think I'll stop being a racist asshole. If only somebody had suggested to me that racism should end. Of course it should end. And the NFL has, at least for the Super Bowl, decided that they're going to end putting it in the end zone, although I'm going to say that the NFL still is against racism, Keith. Keith has lost his mind. That's all that there is. I almost feel bad going after Keith now because he's not well. But look at this. Would you? Donald Trump continuing to win bigly, as he might say, signing his executive order that bans biological males from competing against girls and women in athletics. And at the White House, as he was signing this, surrounded by a group of, well, the next generation of women in our society, Mark Cuban said that Donald Trump isn't surrounded by smart women, but don't tell that to those young ladies who Donald Trump had gather around him as he signed this executive order. And I think history is going to look back favorably on this one. That's a pretty great moment. If you got a problem with that moment, we're just going to have to really have a big disagreement here. I got 5 daughters, as I've said many times. This is something that is good for 50% of society, having the opportunity to compete on an equal playing field and to have the privacy that they deserve in their locker rooms and changing areas and so forth. We got a Hall of Fame vote that's going to be revealed tonight. The class of 2025 will be determined. Well, it's already been determined. We just don't know yet. But we're going to find out who is going to be inducted in Canton later this year. There are some interesting names on that list. Jared Allen, Eric Allen. Eli Manning is one that certainly has gotten a lot of attention. People wondering if Eli is going to get the call. I personally am rooting for one person on that list more than anybody else, and it's Sterling Sharp, number 84 of the Green Bay Packers. I have tweeted before many times that I believe that Sterling Sharp is a Hall of Famer and that he deserves to be inducted. It's good to see him as a finalist. His career ended due to injury when he was 29 years old. His brother Shannon will tell you that he is the lesser talented Sharp brother. And Shannon is not just being gracious when he says that. He really believes it. And if you saw Sterling Sharp play, you know what I'm talking about. Sterling Sharp, top 5 wide receiver that I've ever seen in my life. And I'm rooting for you, Sterling Sharp. And right now, let's throw it to a man that I spoke with earlier, Trey Wingo. Join me. Let's go to the tape. My pleasure to welcome to the program now one of the greats, a guy that you've known for many, many years, and it's an honor to have him on the show. He is the host of the pregame power-up at thestunt.com. Trey Wingo. Trey, how you doing?
Good, Ricky. How are you? Pleasure to be with you, man.
Well, man, it's a thrill to have you on the show. You've been doing this for a long time, brother.
Yeah. Since the 70s, it feels like. Well, not that long, but you get it.
You're much too young and handsome for that. But you do remember the 70s a little bit better than I do, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the 70s guy, but
yeah.
I was a little late to the party. I was born in 71, so I'm a little jealous. You remember the 70s better. Who were the football players and the athletes that you loved growing up?
Well, the 70s Cowboys were a huge thing for me. We lived overseas when I was a kid, and we moved back to the States in 1970. And my whole family's from Texas, and we were watching a Monday Night Football game. Like, oh, Dallas Cowboys are on. I'm like, oh, Dallas, my family's from Texas. Okay, they'll be my team. And then they won Super Bowl 6, they won Super Bowl 12, they went Super Bowl 10, they went Super Bowl 13. So that was an easy one for me. So those guys would be like Roger Staubach, Tony Dorsett, Bob Lilly. Those guys were my core sort of introduction to football, and I just loved watching that team through the 70s.
At Radio Row, Super Bowl 59, brought to you, OutKick's coverage by Hims. You can go to hims.com/touchdown. What are you waiting for? Well, you might want to wait for this. It's my pleasure to welcome to the program now, influencer, outstanding golfer. She's got a lot going on. Paige Spiranac joins the program. Paige, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. Paige, I know you've got some interesting stuff going on. Paige Vegas, I think. Is it Pages? It's. I got to figure it out.
It's Las Pages,
it's
baby.
Las Pages. Okay, all right. We're going to talk about that. But let me start with here. Big news this week. Before you took over the world by storm as an influencer, you were a golfer, and I know you're still a golfer, but golf is where you first made your name. President Trump putting forth an executive order here, signing it to ban transgender athletes competing against women. Biological males no longer allowed to compete against girls and women. Where do you stand on that?
I think that's a really interesting conversation, and I know that's really prevalent in women's golf especially, and I know that they have stood up against it. I've had conversations on both sides, and I'm still learning and educating myself, and I always want to make sure that when I come out and I make a stance on something that I am fully educated on it. I feel like even though I have a large platform and there is pressure to always say the right thing or do the right thing, I think sometimes the best thing is to not put an opinion out there if you don't fully know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
And that's why I tend to just stick with golf, because I am highly knowledgeable about it. I know when I'm talking about something that I can defend it until the day is long, but when it comes to politics or really touchy subjects, I know that if someone comes back at me, I don't fully have all of the right information to be able to defend it. And so I just think it's better to just leave it where it is and let the people who know what they're talking about have the opinion.
Fair enough. Yeah, a lot of media today probably would do well to take that advice. Right, we wouldn't have a lot to talk about if we didn't. I want to go ahead and bring in now a guy who has written about you a lot, covered your career a lot, and who I know is excited here. And it's funny, as I look around, people can't see this, but I'm way more popular for some reason when you're on the program than with my other guest. I don't know how that works, but I want to bring in OutKick Senior Director of Content, Joe Kinsey, to join us right now. If we have Joe Kinsey is.
Ricky,
hello.
Ricky, this is amazing. The OutKick Culture Department finally gets to talk to Paige. This is years in the making, Ricky. Amazing opportunity here. Paige dodged the first question, so we're going to go right into the next one, Ricky. I know she's got little time. She's got a lot of places to be. Paige, Dottie Pepper is getting up there. We want to know, are you going to take her job? Is CBS going to eliminate Dottie Pepper and put you on the sidelines where you should be on CBS coverage?
Queen Dottie, no, she is an absolute legend. She knows her stuff, and she's quite outspoken, and I think she does an amazing job. I would love the opportunity to do on-course broadcasting at some point in my career. I think I'd be great at it. But Dottie is the legend, and she is incredible at what she does, and all the props to her.
Paige,
fair enough. She's a major champion.
You and Dottie. Could we get you and Dottie to work on a broadcast?
The dream team. I love that.
Okay.
So we have a little salt and pepper.
Yeah, that could work.
Ricky, I love that. She's in with Dottie. Okay, next thing, a lot of guys want to know, you told Sydney Thomas that you would coach her in golf, the new rising superstar, Sydney Thomas. Where do you stand with you and Sydney Thomas working together on her golf game?
I threw out the invitation, and I am all for helping my fellow sisters with playing golf. It can be quite challenging, and I feel like there's no one better to help navigate her golf swing.
Is there any concern?
All right, let me ask you a question about golf.
Go ahead, Ricky.
Joe, I want to ask this because this is like I've got a high level golfer here, so I'm gonna ask a golf question. All right,
go ahead.
If somebody is like 18 handicap,
Yeah.
All right. Maybe they're even struggling to break 100. What are the one or two pieces of advice that could most at least help them enjoy the game more?
Short game. Practice your short game. Everyone will always go to the driving range and they want to just hit bombs all day long and see how far they can hit it. But you're going to lower your handicap significantly by working on your short game. So if you only have an hour, spend 15 minutes of it hitting golf balls and then the rest of the time working on your chipping and putting.
You hear that, Joe?
Well, I should take her advice. My golf game would be much better. But that brings me back to Sydney Thomas. Is there any concern that if you build Sydney Thomas up, that she could take the crown? Paige, we have you as the world's #1 golf influencer. Is there any concern out there that there's a rising star that is going to try to take your crown?
I think more the better. 2 minds is better than 1, and 4 is better than 2. So I think that we should band together and be unstoppable. And no, I think, there's a lot of unhealthy competition against women, and I want her to do great things and have a great career. And she's so incredibly hot that, yeah, she deserves all of the attention, and I'm definitely looking at her. She's amazing.
Well said, Ricky. One more thing before I have to go. I'm in high demand too.
All right, Columbo.
Paige,
okay.
You said a couple years ago you were starting to indicate that you might try to get out of the game. You were going into cooking and stuff like that on YouTube. Are you now back into golf full time? You're back to being the influencer, and that's where Paige is going to live on for years to come?
Golf is obviously my number one. It's my sweet spot. It's something I'm so incredibly passionate about, but there's also a bunch of different sides of me, and I think that's what's so great is that you can do lifestyle to cooking to fitness to what I'm doing now with Sports Grid, Los Pages. We created a show called Gimme Props, and people will send in prop bets, and they are so much fun. The second episode is a double stacked burger, and I have to try to finish it in under 5 bites. So not technically golf related, but it's just really fun content, and I feel that, yes, people know me for golf, but it's always my sense of humor and the playfulness and, being in on the bit and the joke and being self-aware, and that you can do that with anything. And so it's fun to show different sides of myself.
She has her own bobblehead, Joe. I don't know if you're aware of this or not. Milwaukee Brewers had a Paige bobblehead.
I know. They shot down Bobble Boobs. I was really pushing hard for that one, but yeah, apparently not family friendly.
Dang it. Why can't we have nice things anymore in this society? Everybody was in favor of that. Joy
Who
killers.
Needs to make the bobble
is what I
boobs?
say.
You need to make them?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can make them yourself. Put them on your website or whatever. It's a $1 million idea. Paige, what's your favorite golf course? What's your favorite course you've ever played?
So I played Pine Valley last summer, and it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. That course is so special.
That's an exclusive experience playing Pine Valley. It was like number one year after year after year in Golf Digest.
Yeah.
When I was growing up. That's pretty wild. Have you ever played Augusta?
I haven't played Augusta. I would love to at some point play there. Cypress is another one of my favorites. Oakmont, Shadow Creek in Las Vegas. The golf course is so special, but the hang there is so much fun, which sometimes on the nicer golf courses, they can be a little bit more stuffy at times and stick to their rules. But at Shadow Creek, it's all about just, enjoying the day.
What's the experience like for you? Because obviously you've got a huge following. You're extremely popular. I think you've made about as big of a splash here in New Orleans this week as the players, arguably. But you also there's sort of the hate that goes with that sometimes too. How do you balance the incredible popularity with the people at the same time that are going to be naysayers and trying to drag you down?
People are always going to find something to hate, and that's totally fine. I think in the beginning of my career, I struggled with it. I didn't really know how to react to what people were saying because I just had no idea what I was doing. I was young, and so now I just lean into it and have fun with it. And I always say you want to have 70% hate, 30% love to grow, and you want to start conversations, and I think that's totally fine.
Producer Tim is joining me. What do you think of this week so far, man? It's a crazy scene here in New Orleans.
It certainly is. Hey, certainly
there
is.
You go.
The Old Spice guy, Ricky, all sorts of
Spice
craziness
guy
going around.
Walking by, I was doing an interview earlier. The Old Spice guy comes by. You just pull me over. You're like, hey, go do an interview with the Old Spice guy.
How you smelling in the morning?
Yeah, and he's got his sweater tied. He's not wearing a shirt because I don't think he owns one. And he's got the sweater tied
in
around
character.
He was completely in character.
It's a good tease for our program tomorrow. But hey, nice job with Paige and Trey Wingo.
Yeah.
Walking down memory lane there with them.
Yeah, Trey. We're going to have Trey back on. I didn't get into as much of the Super 70s content. We got into it a little bit there at the end, but Trey's been a good supporter of Super 70s for a long time.
Yeah, he's weighed in on a bunch of your tweets. We can we'll revisit those probably next week. I don't think he's weighed in on the poll though. Certainly, poll is something that I think as we've seen people really engage.
People engage with the poll, and it seems to me that you've just given me the segue that I'm looking for right now. Let's go to America's poll of the day, shall we? Over at Super 70s Sports on X, where the eagle flies high every time. And we have 4 options for you today here. And you can't beat Super Bowl week in New Orleans. We're doing America's poll of the day. And who has joined me other than one of the all-time greatest defensive players in the history of the National Football League? He's going to be my sidekick here for the poll of the day Rod Woodson, welcome to the program.
How are you?
Doing very well. It's great to have you on. This is going to be the weirdest start to an interview you're going to have this week, probably.
All right,
although
what do we
I know
got?
there's a lot of weirdness going on here. We do a little something called America's Poll of the Day.
Poll of the day.
Poll of the Day. We take 4 things that are good. It's completely random. Okay,
Right.
so the angle we go for are 4 random things every day, and then I put it out at Super 70 Sports on X, which
Okay.
is my platform, and let people vote on it. So the choices today, and that's a hard read.
I cannot.
What
see
do we
that.
got? Beignets, I believe, is the first option.
Oh.
The Commodores, Lionel Richie and the Commodores.
Wow.
Chips, the TV show with Eric Estrada from back in the day.
Yeah.
And this one is in honor of you, so the timing is good when you got here. Pick sixes,
Oh.
which
heck.
this man happens to be the all-time NFL leader in pick sixes. He had a dozen during his career.
Do I got to rank these?
Well,
just pick the best one.
You know what? Rank them. I got you here one time.
Okay.
Beignets, the Commodores, chips, and pick sixes.
Okay, so I'm a sweet tooth guy.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's gumbo.
Oh, gumbo.
Oh, it's
first.
gumbo. See, I can't read it. My eyes are
Okay,
bad.
is it the seafood gumbo or the chicken sausage gumbo?
Whatever gumbo you rate the highest, think of that one, and that's the one that you're imagining.
Okay. All right, then. Okay, then I'm gonna go with pick sixes.
Yes.
Gumbo, Commodores, and then chips.
All right. Favorite Commodore song?
What is the? I don't remember.
I don't know. Like what was like 3 Times a Lady?
3 Times a
Sail
Lady?
On.
Oh,
Down the line.
Sail on. Is
That's
it.
that's good.
Yeah.
All right. All right, pick sixes. All right,
Pick sixes.
I only learned that recently. That 71 interceptions, you're number 3 on the all-time list. Look, you played your position. I mean, you're arguably the greatest defensive back in the history of the NFL. I know there's other guys. Ronnie Lott might want to have a word, and a few other guys, but you're certainly on the Mount Rushmore. How exciting was it to run one back? Whether you're at home and the fans go crazy, or you're on the road and you take all the wind out of the stadium.
You know, I was very blessed to come in '87, played in the AFC Central, which people don't even know what it was, a Central, right?
Oh, yeah.
My first interception was a pick six against the Cincinnati Bengals. Boomer Esiason was throwing it. I think it got tipped off to Eddie Brown's hands, tipped right to me. I was on the right sideline, ran it in. I think it was like 45 yards, 50 yards, something like that. So getting those opportunities, having those game-changing moments, because if your defense scores, the possibility of you winning increases.
Big time.
I think we lost the game anyway, but normally it increases. So doing 12 of those and having that over my career, it was a blessing. But first of all, it's a blessing to play that long, because I think I got my 12th one in year I think that was 2002.
Yeah, okay.
So my first one was in '87. My last one was in 2002. So I mean, he's blessed. Just blessed to be able to play. And one of my coaches, Dick LeBeau, used to say it all the time. You'd rather be a has-been than a never was. And so I'm blessed to be able to play 17 years and to people can remember my name.
We're doing a thing on Super 70s where we're counting up to 99 athlete numbers. And I'll post every day. I think today, I got to post it later today. I think we're up to 16 today. You were number 26. How did you settle on that number?
26? When I played Pop Warner football for the Powell Raiders, I think I had like 12, number 12. And then I went to junior high. And that's when, junior highs had football teams back in the day, right?
Yeah.
I think my number was 10. And then when I got to my high school, they're like, what number do you want? And I'm like, I don't care. And they're like, you want 26? I'm like, sure. So I got 26. I mean, it wasn't like a special number. I just got 26. And I tell kids all the time, it's not like the number doesn't make you. You make the number. Yeah. So if you play at a high level, people are going to remember that number. If you don't, they're not going to remember the number at all. So, I was just had the opportunity, but got to play at a high level. Had some really good coaches that teach me over the course of my lifetime, and I listened. That's the biggest thing is, if you're already full, cup can't get any more water in it, right? So, I had to learn to dump that out a little bit, keep learning from my coaches, keep learning from my peers, keep trying to get better every single year from year 1 to year 17.
Rod, you've played in the biggest game. Here we are. You're here for Super Bowl week, and I don't know. Does it ever get old coming to the Super Bowl and seeing all the craziness?
No. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger every single year. It's a production. Way back in the day, these things were small, right? Like nobody would be in here hardly. So, but seeing what the NFL has come to, everything that they do, they sell tickets for. I mean, when you can sell tickets for the combine, watch you guys run around in shorts who haven't even been drafted yet. That's what they do. That's what they do.
That says something. You've been on both sides of winning and losing in this game. How long is that off season when you come up so short? When you've had a great year, you're at the pinnacle, the big game. I know they asked Dwayne Thomas years ago, they said it's the ultimate game. And he said, well, if it's the ultimate game, why do they play it every year? But it is the ultimate game that there is in the sport of football. How tough is it to get there and lose and kind of just set on that during the off season?
Yeah, I tell you what, I didn't get to my first Super Bowl until year 7 for me. And it's tough to get to. And we had some pretty good teams, especially after Bill Cowher got there. We just couldn't get over the hump. And then, having the confetti be yours, it's like no other feeling. When you lose, you're like, okay, back to the drawing board. Let's get to work. 2 weeks after the season's over, start working out again. And then when you win, you're like, oh man, this is what it feels like when the confetti's my color and it's for me. I think the biggest thing is we all play because we want to be the best at what we do. But only one team is a winner, 31 other losers. That happens every single year.
Well, how much? I mean, you'd been in the league for a long time by the time. I mean, that Ravens team of yours. I mean, that defense, you could go down the line of the great names that were on that defense. You had a long wait, so I mean that must have been it. That was really it was the only thing left in your career in some ways to accomplish. How satisfying was it to finally climb to that mountaintop?
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't really think we could win a Super Bowl when I first went there. We were talented. We had a lot of talent. I mean, my first year we were 6-10, and I think then we were 8-8, and then the following year we won the Super Bowl. So it's like I didn't go to Baltimore because I'm thinking year 1 I'm going to win a Super Bowl. But it grew. Ray Lewis got better and better and better as a leader. We made a change on offense, and we went Trent Dilfer as the quarterback, and Trent is an old, tough, gritty, kind of like a Baker Mayfield type of grit, So he gave that to our offense. We had a running game, but our defense was, man, we know you couldn't run the ball against us, you couldn't throw the ball against us. You're going to have a tough day. So, arguably, I think the best defense in the National Football history in one given year, because we broke the 84-85 Bear scoring record.
That says a lot, too.
It really does say a lot because they were really good. Everybody always talks about them about being the best. But one single year, I really believe that defense was the best one ever.
You're remembered probably, even though you won the championship in Baltimore, you're remembered as a Steeler, obviously, because you spent most of your career there. Every offseason, it's the NFL coaching carousel, right? Everybody's looking at whether it's in Dallas, whether it's Vegas, whether it's my Bears, and we're hoping maybe finally we got the right guy. The Steelers have had just an incredible stability in that. I'm 53 years old, and there have been 3 head coaches of the Pittsburgh Steelers in my lifetime, which is unheard of in the modern game. Mike Tomlin obviously has a long tenure now. Cowher had a very successful tenure there, and of course Chuck Noll was your first coach. How much does it mean to a team if you can have that type of stability? Is it overrated shuffling coaches?
It is. Well, this is the problem. I think general managers and owners are always looking for a guru. Ain't no guru. Ain't nobody going, this is not rocket science. We're not sending somebody to the moon playing football, right? So find a leader. Find a leader of men. And that's what they've done. That's the one thing that the Steelers have done so well at. Chuck Noll got picked up. Nobody knew who Chuck Noll was. Bill Cowher, like, I definitely didn't know who Bill. I mean, I knew of him because I knew he was a coordinator and he was a special team. I know all that. And then Mike Tomlin. Nobody really knew who. I knew who Mike Tomlin was because I knew he was a defensive coordinator, but nobody knew that he could be that guy. But they found a leader. You think of the Baltimore Ravens, John Harbaugh. Who was going to give a special team coach an opportunity to become a head coach? But he's a great leader, and that's what you need. If you find a leader, you're going to find a really good football team because he's going to kind of like draw the picture for what he wants his team to be, and let his coaches implement it.
Rod, as you look at this game on Sunday, obviously the Chiefs have established themselves as one of the great dynasties. We think of the Steelers in the 70s. We think of the 49ers in the 80s. You think of the Tom Brady Patriots in this century. Where does this Chiefs team rank, and what would getting a fourth one mean for these? Mahomes, when I was growing up, the standard was Bradshaw had 4,
right?
Montana had 4,
right?
And then Tom Brady came along and he sort of broke the scale for us. I still don't know how to process 7, but this would be 4 already for Patrick Mahomes, and obviously it'd be 4 for Andy Reid and Kelce and all these other guys. What does this Super Bowl mean to their legacy? I mean, obviously I know it's secure with 3, but
if they can three-peat,
that's
huge.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard with free agency, the way it's set up. But back in the day, there was no free agency, right? Plan B free. Nobody ever moved from Plan B free agency, so there was no free agency. So teams stayed together longer. Well, now teams are all over the place. Guys are all over the place because you have free agency. But the key has been Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Like some of the deficiencies that the Kansas City Chiefs have had over the years, Patrick Mahomes has made up for it. I mean, he is a legit Hall of Fame quarterback that never had great receivers. I think he's had some really good receivers, but no Hall of Fame receivers, so to speak. Tight end, yes, Hall of Fame tight end. Solid running game, good defense, but he's been the key to the cog for these runs. And if they can three-peat, obviously they're now in conversation of being one of the best teams in the history of football because nobody's ever done it before. And it's always that first team that can get the three-peat, right? That's going to be it.
So when you look at this game, it looks like a great matchup on paper. It seems it's pretty evenly matched, clearly. When you look at Saquon Barkley and what he's done this year for the Eagles, 2,000-yard season, lighting it up in the postseason. The guy's had, I think, 360-plus yard touchdown runs in his last 2 games. From a defensive perspective, how does it change things when you have somebody that is super elite like that?
Right.
How do you go into the preparation when you look at it and you say, well, wait a minute, we got a guy here who's built different?
You got a gang tackle. He's very Barry Sanders-ish. He's not Barry Sanders, because Barry Sanders, that dude was like different. But he has those traits. And when you have a guy like that, you got a gang tackle. Everybody got to get to the ball. Everybody has to make sure you wrap up. You can't try to strip the ball. You better get him down because he's big, he's strong, he's physical. And if he gets a step on you, he's taking it the distance. So he's that one guy that could be the difference maker for the Philadelphia Eagles to get that victory.
Rod, I know that you've partnered with the DEA with fentanyl. We're all hearing more and more about just how dangerous fentanyl is, and I know that you're doing the one pill kills. Can you tell us about this and why that's such an important thing to you?
Yeah, first of all, it's a personal matter for me. My oldest son had an addiction about 15 years ago. Now, fentanyl wasn't in masses like it is today in our society, but you think about what it is. 3 to 4 grains of fentanyl can kill you. And it's in the social media world. We on our phones. You don't know who you're talking to. You think you can get a prescription drugs on social media. You think you can get just any type of pill in social media, and it's legit, and it's not. And, the one pill can't kill, but the one conversation that you can have with people can save their lives. And that's the biggest thing, just to talk to them, be honest, be open. And if we can do that, the DA is doing a tremendous job of fighting this battle. And the DA agent that's with me, Ms. Oz, she made a really good point in the last conversation that we had. She said, just think about this. Over 100,000 people die every year from fentanyl. So the stadium come Sunday is going to have 85,000 people in it. So that's how many people die over that every single year from
That's
fentanyl.
some perspective.
So that is a huge perspective, and we're here just to spread the message of let's talk about it. Let's have that communication. Remember when we grew up, it was a village can raise a kid. It takes a village to raise a kid. And it takes a village in the neighborhood and friends and families and coaches to talk about issues when they see it arising and being honest about it.
Well, it's a great cause, and certainly worthy for us to talk about here today. Rob, before you go, real quickly, let me ask you. Aaron Rodgers, he supposedly can remember every interception that he's ever thrown. Out of all of your interceptions, or even the pick sixes, like how many? I'm not going to ask you to detail them,
right?
But like how many of them could you, if you sat down and started thinking about it, how many specific ones?
I can't remember all the pick sixes. I remember the first one, my longest one, and my last one.
That's pretty good. It's three more than I had. I'll tell you that. We're not even getting into the other 68. Rod Woodson, one of the greats of all time. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Travis Kelce is talking about Caitlin Clark.
Midwestern values.
Midwestern values. I don't know. It's the Kelce Caitlin Clark crossover. I think it had to happen. I don't know. It was in the fates that these two stars would somehow align. Let's go to Travis Kelce and see what he has to say about Caitlin Clark, and then I'll get your thoughts, Tim.
I just have nothing but great things to say about who she is as a person. She's so welcoming and just so warm as an individual that she can have a conversation with anybody. She's cut from the same cloth as me in that regard. Us Midwesterners, we tend to just accept everybody with open arms, and she was so kind to my family and everyone in the suite when she came to KC. So huge fans of Caitlin Clark in my family and friend group.
Well, isn't that nice? Wouldn't it have been amazing if he'd just been, she's just a bitch. I don't like her at all. I met her once, and I'm an Angel Reese fan now.
So how is she a Chiefs fan? That's the part I didn't. I guess Iowa.
Is that their team? I did a.
It's her. Yeah, she spoke about it. That's why she was there. She was sort of Chiefs Kingdom.
I did a hit on ESPN Wichita
yesterday.
Yeah, I started to lose. They asked me who did I pick, and I picked the Eagles. And he's like, don't do that because
Sure.
Kansas City's in Missouri, but Kansas, that's their team. And I said, well, Wichita Lineman's my favorite country song. I was, started sucking up trying to win them back. I don't know. Is it like, what is the geographic radius of Chiefs fandom?
Chiefs Kingdom is large, I will say.
Yeah.
It's pretty large. They certainly predate the Broncos by a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, they go all the way back to the genesis of the
right. And
AFL.
Colts were a later addition, right?
Yeah, weren't the Chiefs? They were the Dallas Texans first.
I believe so,
weren't
right,
they? And then they relocated. Lamar Hunt, the owner, wasn't it his kid's toy, the Super Bowl, gave him the inspiration to come up with the name Super Bowl.
Oh, very good.
So the Chiefs, it's the Chiefs owner that it all goes back to.
Professor Cobb making it happen.
There you go. Yeah,
1959 they were founded.
I still like to educate, really.
Yeah.
Going back that far.
Right.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
So, but Caitlin Clark, real quickly, what a perfect storm for the league. I know Taylor Swift has annoyed football fans left and right.
Not just football fans.
Right.
But Taylor Swift, like anybody who gets super, super successful, right? You run the risk of overexposure a little bit. It's not even anything that Taylor Swift has done wrong. And I know people say, they hate my 16-year-old worships Taylor Swift, right?
13-year-old at home, same thing. Our whole basketball team. The Swiftie thing is real.
I took 3 of my daughters to see Taylor at Soldier Field in the summer of 23. And it was a great show. I had a great time. And look, if you're driving around with a car full of teenage girls, you're going to hear Taylor Swift music. And, if you allow them to take over control, which I do.
Oh, boy.
Sometimes.
Do they just Bluetooth their phone in and commandeer because that's what happens to me.
Yes. Yeah. And then I got to try to reconnect later, and it's always a pain in the ass.
Incredible.
But she's got a lot of good songs. She does. Like I'm not seeking it out generally, but there's, I could name some Taylor Swift songs that I like, but she's just a little. It's not even her fault.
Right.
Just stop cutting to her every 3 seconds.
Certainly, that was the
It's
case
too
last
much.
year. 45 cutaways, one game.
Yeah.
A couple networks criticized. But for me, I want to does the engagement happen? I still can't believe this is all happening. You said 50-yard line to someone yesterday, and we were out doing our man on the street interview, and woman on the street, and here in Bourbon
That's
Street.
right. We were greeting a lot of the tourists, and I don't know if any of them were local. I assume they're all tourists when I go down Bourbon Street.
But I don't see the 50-yard line proposal happening from Kelce. Although I'm imagining there's odds. I meant to look the odds up before today's show. Here.
People were predicting that last year too. They're going to win, and he's going to propose. If he proposes after the game, it's like I feel like I'm watching like a bad Hallmark Channel movie.
Yeah.
At that point,
not one that we're tuning in for sure.
He just goes down to one knee after winning MVP of the game, catching 3 touchdown passes.
I don't know if your daughters feel this way.
We all ascend into heaven.
I know my daughter and her friends all think he's too ugly for her. They think he's just not not attractive enough man for Taylor.
Well, look, she's burned through a lot.
Oh God.
How do you feel, when you start dating somebody, especially when they're younger than us, but you start dating somebody, everybody's got a history.
Right.
And some people's histories are more extensive than others. He's obviously very secure, because if you're going to date her and it's just like, oh yeah, this is the song that she wrote about that guy. She wrote this album about this guy.
It's 3/4 of her song.
She wrote this song about that guy.
Right.
And so you're walking around and you're hearing songs on the radio. You're just out doing something. Oh, here's the song about this other dude that my girlfriend used to be with. I don't know though about ugly. He's different.
The haircut. I'm not one to talk about hair.
Hipster. She sort of dated these hipster
wafy.
Beta.
Can you say wafy?
Beta male. Yeah, maybe. She wore guys who wore tight pants.
Yes.
Is basically what happened. And then Travis Kelce's like, he's the kind of guy that probably goes out and chops down a tree for fun.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.